Well, hello, and thank you for joining me in this presentation that I've entitled Go Paleo. And it's regarding, of course, the paleo diet, a very popular diet. It's been around for many, many years. And what I'd like to do is to delve into it a little bit more deeply and let you know a little bit more about it as well. So I want to welcome you. And if we've not met before, I want you to know more about me. It's my passion to educate and to motivate people, to help them in their journey to achieving the best performance of their life. And I do so as a facilitator or an educator to assist you in any way that I can, whether it's guiding you to make an informed decision about your health or helping you to identify and remove any limitations that may be in your way of this preventing you from achieving the best performance of your life. Now, as we delve into this, I do want to make a disclaimer that in no way am I attempting to diagnose any conditions that you might be having. I'm not diagnosing, nor am I prescribing any type of treatment for you. So if you do have any questions that result from this presentation, why please don't hesitate to contact our office. We're here to help you in any way that we possibly can. All right. So getting back now to the history of the paleo diet, let's look at it a little bit more deeply. It's been often called the caveman diet, the primal diet. It's been called the Stone Age diet. And the premise is that all of the food in the paleo diet is directly sourced from what are considered to be natural sources, or nature, if you will, just like our predecessors did. And there have been some that have been using the term that they were the hunter-gatherers during the Paleolithic era. And this all occurred before the birth of our agriculture, about what many believe would be thousands of years ago, when humans didn't eat grains or beans or starchy vegetables or even potatoes or beans or milk or the salt that we have in our foods and or the sugars as well. So that's the premise or the foundation, the philosophy, if you will, behind the paleo diet. And today, as we look at our society, there's over 60, maybe 70% of the caloric intake that most people have are from foods that were absolutely unknown to societies prior to ours and our bodies prior to the start of food processing. So let me summarize this once again. The paleo diet, its foundational basis is that of meats, fruits, and vegetables that are natural. Now, anything that's processed of any kind, any processed foods of any kind, then would be unnatural, and that which would not be included in the paleo diet list, okay? So the modern diet of refined foods is completely different from the way previous societies ate, completely different. And many refer to the type of diet that most are engaged in today as the standard American diet, whose acronym, of course, is SAD. And that aptly certainly describes today's diet that most are engaged in. So when we look at the paleo diet, there are going to be certain foods that you want to avoid, okay? And I've listed them here. So these are the types of foods that you want to stay away from. Now, we want to abstain from all dairy products. If you're considering going on to this diet, you have to abstain from all dairy products. However, there is an exception, and that will be eggs, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But also you have to abstain from all grains, which include the rice, the wheat, the corn, oat, barley, millet, and rye, all beans and legumes, any starchy vegetables such as potatoes or squash varieties as well. And of course, the sugary foods and artificial sweeteners. Then you have to abstain from any high salt foods. These are in particular would be like the luncheon meats, the processed or the smoked meats that you get at the grocery store. They're prepackaged. Soft drinks, fruit juices, and the refined vegetable oils. And those would include like corn oil, safflower oil, canola oil, peanut oil, the vegetable oil, all of those types of oils. Totally abstain from those. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of restriction, but you want to stay tuned here because there's going to be some good foods on the list as well. Okay, so that's a nice segue into finding exactly what you can eat. So let's get to that list here without any further ado. Now, on the paleo diet, should you decide to get on that, you can eat all lean meats like chicken, turkey, fish, shellfish, seafoods. You can also eat the eggs that I mentioned just on the previous slide, all fruits and berries. You can eat most vegetables. And those that I mentioned prior to this are the ones that are excluded, the potatoes and the squash varieties as well. You can eat the nuts and the seeds and honey. And now honey is a different, you want to eat the raw, unprocessed, unfiltered honey. Because if it's been broken down, if it's been filtered, if it's been pasteurized and whatnot, then it's not considered from a natural source. It's been altered. So if you're eating honey or including it in your diet, you want to get the raw, unprocessed, unfiltered honey, okay? And then the healthful oils, like the olive oil, walnut oil, flaxseed oil, macadamia oil, avocado, coconut oil, all of those oils are very, very good. So this paleo plate, it really consists of the majority of lean meats. And a close second would be the amount of vegetables that you eat. And of course, a healthy serving of the healthy fats, okay? And some of the fruits and nuts as well. Oh, and always a healthy amount, a good amount of the water. We don't want to forget the water. And speaking of this is going to play a very huge role in your paleo lifestyle. Now, I know that most people have heard and you've been told how important drinking water is for us, right? Well, dehydration, when you're not getting enough water into your system, it's going to affect everything from your digestion to the health of your skin. And on the other hand, there's the other side of the pendulum, if you will. You don't want to overhydrate because that can be dangerous. It can even be lethal. A lot of water, but in order to quell any fears that you have, now that I made that statement, understand this: you'd have to drink a lot, and I mean a whole lot of water has to be consumed for it to be an issue, to be in the position where you're drinking too much water and it's becoming dangerous to you. So you might ask then, well, hey doc, how much water should I drink then? Well, that's kind of complicated because, we've been told in the past maybe 8 ounces of water or glasses of water a day might be sufficient, but more studies are actually needed. And you have to look at the body weight of the individual. You have to look at the nutritional need of the individual, the age of the individual, the gender of the individual, and their activity levels, whether they're an athlete or just a sedentary type of person. That's going to determine how much water you want to drink, if you want to get down to the nitty-gritty. However, what you can do is this. You can take your body weight and divide it by 2. And that number that you come up with is the number of ounces that you would be wanting to consume on a daily basis. That would be a very safe amount. So let's just say, as an example, you weigh 120 pounds. You divide that by 2, coming up with 60. 60 would be the number of ounces then you would want to drink throughout the day. Now, I didn't mean to stray off here, but there are a few very good benefits to drinking the water. Number one, it's going to increase the speed of your metabolism. That means that the food isn't going to stay in your body a long, long time, and that's going to reduce the amount of calories, not nutrients, but rather calories that your body would absorb. So you're not going to get a lot of unwanted calories absorbed if you're drinking the amount of water you should. Also, it's going to improve your muscle tone, and it's going to reduce the potential for you of injuring those muscles, whether it be through a strain or a sprain type injury. It's going to aid in your digestive process, so you're going to reduce the frequency of having agita or indigestion and that. It's going to help to prevent fatigue from occurring. It's going to also support your body in its process of detoxifying itself. Little water means that you're not clearing or cleaning the body out sufficiently. So you want to drink enough water so that the body can do just that. And it's also going to keep those joints that you have, the knees, the shoulders, the elbows, and the ankles, all healthier because they're going to be much more supple, much more fluid, if you will, and flexible. So that's what you're going to want to do. You'll want to remember to drink the water. That's an important part here on the paleo plate. Okay? So now let's look at some of the benefits that you would be getting if you are going to decide to follow a paleo type of diet. And some of these benefits are truly extraordinary. Okay? So a few here that I'd like to mention would be like naturally balancing your blood glucose levels. Now, if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, this would be, you'd want to give this paleo diet a serious look, because most people are aware of the inconvenient blood sugar spikes that occur and drop throughout the day. Again, as I said, if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, you're well aware of that. And because of the elimination of the refined sugars, your body has to have a chance to regain the natural balance of your blood sugar. And if you're on the paleo diet, that would mean that you have no more midday crashes, because, as I said, it's going to help to balance that blood glucose level and keep it on an even keel instead of more like a roller coaster kind of a situation. All right. Also, it's been shown to increase natural energy, and it certainly improves the quality of sleep. Now, when you're eating a balanced paleo meal, you're providing your body with natural energy sources from all natural sources, right? So this way, your body is getting the fuel that it was meant to be fueled with. And not to mention, the quality of sleep improves incredibly, because now when you're getting the right fuel, your body is transferring that into the proper hormone productions at the proper levels, and it's going to spill over, if you will, into the quality of sleep that you're going to be able to get. And this is done quite organically. You do so by cutting out all of those typical additives that's in much of the standard American diet food sources. All right? Because there's a chemical in the brain called serotonin. And in the brain, it's going to signal to your body when it's time to sleep. And it's no longer, if you're on the paleo diet, it's not going to be drowned out. There's a lot of competition with chemicals in the brain. I just want to explain this a bit. And serotonin wouldn't be drowned out by the chemicals that you've ingested via the foods that you may have eaten that are included in the standard American diet. See? So when the serotonin is there, you're going to get the proper sleep as a result of eating natural foods. Okay? Then also, as an added bonus, when you get onto this, you can even enjoy what's called effortless weight loss and lean muscle production. Yeah, I know that word effortless here, but the structure of the paleo diet naturally promotes weight loss. It's going to do this automatically. So between cutting out the synthetic chemicals from the processed foods and increasing your daily intake of fruits and veggies and healthy fats, and providing yourself with an ample protein for muscle growth, you're going to be setting your body up for success, because you're going to be feeling better, you're going to be more active. And being more active, you're going to burn more energy. And when you do that, you're going to also enjoy more sleep, more restful sleep, because you're going to expend that energy. The body's going to need to recharge itself, and it does so through sleep. So all of these things that I just mentioned are going to more or less, promote one another. And this diet also is going to keep you full. It's going to keep you satisfied. Often people associate the word diet with restriction. The diet is a 4-letter word. But while there are foods, as I went over, that you can't eat, you're really not counting the calories if you're on the paleo diet. What you're doing, and when you're counting calories, what happens is you're seeking for the cheats, or you're staying hungry. That's what happens. But this particular diet promotes eating when you are hungry. That's what you do. But the catch is this: when you're doing it correctly, you're actually not going to be as hungry as often as you would on another diet. See, the emphasis on calorie dense healthy fats and whole foods and plenty of high fiber foods creates the perfect equation for satisfying your appetite, your hunger pangs, and that's not going to happen here. Also, I alluded to the fact that you need to drink water for detoxification benefits. Well, since you've halted your consumption of a lot of harmful additives like the trans fats, the MSGs, the refined sugar, the excessive caffeines, and you get it not only from a cup of coffee, but from a lot of foods, caffeine is added to it, you're inherently giving your body a rest. And additionally, your antioxidants, your phytonutrients, and the fibers are going, that increase of those types of things is going to aid in your body's ability to detoxify itself. And as far as disease prevention, well, many diseases can be traced back to inflammation. And luckily, the paleo diet is structured around an anti-inflammatory diseases while cutting out many of the known inflammatory food sources. That's what it does. Because some of the foods that are on the standard American diet, they actually cause inflammation of the body. You see people that are really puffy looking, they're swollen looking, or their fingers swell and whatnot. A lot of that comes from the foods that they have ingested prior to that moment. By eating the foods listed on the paleo diet, you're going to reduce that inflammatory response. So, well, we've covered a lot there, and I know I did so at a pretty good pace, and hopefully I haven't overwhelmed you here. So what I want to do now is to show you proof that the paleo might be a very good way to go. I mean that if I were you, you might want some further proof because, we're governed by, many people, I should say, are governed by what they see or read on the internet. And I've got to tell you, we're probably considered the most informed society. I'm not going to say well-informed, but I am going to say we're considered probably the most informed society that's been on the face of the earth since the beginning of time. However, in that information, there is a lot, and by a lot, I mean the majority of the information that is presented to you is misinformation. It's been spun, it's been reprocessed, it's been reprogrammed, whatever. It has hidden agendas. So what I want to do is to show you that what I'm saying is true here. Okay? And one of the things, if you are one of those that likes to use the internet, you can go, because there has been research that's been done on the efficacy of this particular eating style, and it's over a 30-40 year period now. So you can go to thepaleodiet.com/research/. Again, you can go to the website. It's called thepaleodiet.com/research/. Okay, so that will help you to it'll provide the information that you might need that will convince you, hopefully, that this is a very valid plate that they set before you. Okay, now a few moments ago I mentioned effortless weight loss. I said, weight loss and the word effortless usually doesn't go together. So I do want to backtrack here because I know that may sound quite impossible. But let me explain. The quality of the food is really going to be of the utmost importance when you're considering trying to lose weight. It's the quality of the food, okay? Unfortunately, though, it's a common misconception that when people eat less, that's the answer to the weight loss epidemic. While it can be helpful, there's no doubting, to implement this with a fraction of people, I said, of people, because it doesn't work for everybody, anybody, all the time, every time. It's really more sustainable and appropriate to focus on the quality of the food rather than the quantity of the food. So I want to talk to you about quality. Now, with this paleo menu that I just mentioned a few slides ago, it's full of, when we do research as a nutritionist, I've looked and I've seen and realized that those food sources are full of taurine-rich animal products, and also the omega-3s, and they're very fiber-rich carbohydrate sources as well. So the taurine that I mentioned, it actually helps to propel the fat cells into a weight loss mode. So all of those fat cells in your body that you may be carrying currently, when you when you start eating some of, or the majority of the foods that are listed in the paleo menu, they're taurine rich, and that's going to excite or instigate the fat cells there. And what's going to happen is they're going to become insulin sensitive, okay? And the omega-3s also, they're going to aid in pushing the fat cells into what's called the weight loss mode. And they'll do that by improving your metabolic health and overall lowering that inflammatory response, right? And then lastly, of course, not to forget the fiber. That this paleo menu shows that there are carbohydrate sources that are just jam-packed with fiber. And that fiber, as a matter of fact, does not cause those blood sugar spikes. As actually what it does, it's gonna level them out, and keep them from going in high swings and then low drops. So when you do this type of a diet, you can reprogram your fat cells, as I mentioned a few moments ago, for easy weight loss, because they're going to be in that mode, if you will, to do that. See, the body is quite remarkable. As a matter of fact, your body's been fearfully and wonderfully made, and it's been created to maintain itself and to keep itself well, despite all of the errors that we have made, all of the the fallacies and the myths that we have governed our lives by. Boy, the human body still shows up for the job the next day and does it in a way that's unbelievable. Okay? So anyway, it is safe to say that athletes have no choice, that for the athletes that I have, it's paleo or bust, really, because and let me explain this to you, because you might not consider yourself an athlete, and we do take care of a lot of high-end athletes in that. And this is a talk that we have with them, because, their performance is going to be based upon the fuel that they put within themselves. And this is what you want to do too, because what you're doing is not unlike what an athlete may be doing. Say, he or she is training to perform at a certain level or to achieve or accomplish a specific goal. All right? Well, that's what you do every day in life. You are wanting to perform or achieve a certain action or activity, achieve a certain goal, that you do so by the end of your day, whether it's showing up to work for 8 hours and doing the best job you can, if it's staying home and raising your children and becoming the best mom that you can possibly be, or if it's just going out and you want to run a 5K or a half marathon every once in a while. You are an athlete. That's the strictest definition of the word. And this diet can actually potentially provide you with these benefits, even though you're not, running a marathon for the $50,000 purse or whatever activity that you engage in. This diet can help you to improve your muscle recovery. So when you have to get out and mow the grass, or you have to get out and shovel the snow, or whatever it might be, you're engaged in a repetitive activity that's in time intensive. And you know how it is when you wake up the next morning and, oh my gosh, your muscles are hurting in places you forgot you even had muscles. Well, when you're on this type, when you're eating from this paleo plate, so to speak, it's going to help you to improve that recovery of those used muscles. As I mentioned before, it's going to improve the digestive process, and it's going to allow you to have greater efficiency in the absorption of all of these nutrients that you're getting from your food. It's going to improve your glucose control. Remember, bye-bye for all the crashes, the spikes and the valleys. Remember that? So if you are a pre-diabetic or diabetic, you can control your glucose levels. You can absolutely arrest diabetes. You can reverse it. Okay? Now remember, I'm not diagnosing nor am I prescribing a treatment plan here. So if you're interested in something like that, if you are a diabetic or you've seen that you are pre-diabetic and you want some help with that, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'd be more than happy to help you out. And also, what this diet does, or what these foods do, is it improves cognitive abilities and the focus, your focusing ability. You know, it's a very common terminology here to hear people talk about brain fog, and you know, they forget this and they can't remember that, and a lot of it has to do with the foods or that they're not eating, I should say, because much of which the general public is eating is not what I consider food. So overall, you know, this diet provides the nutritional needs that you have to sustain your energy, your ability to grow, to maintain your muscles, and to strengthen your immune system, and also, like I said, to benefit your cognitive ability. Okay? So that's what this does. It's a wonderful menu to look to. Now, the paleo also helps with inflammation and disease, because I mentioned that earlier when I was talking about the paleo's influence on preventing disease. And I know that that's one of the things that interested me most about this particular plate, you know, as a physician, in helping so many different types of people coming in with varying conditions and whatnot. So the prevalence of the autoimmune diseases has been rising for the last 30, 40 years. And actually, an autoimmune disease, let me explain it. It's basically a condition where your body can't decipher. It can't identify or make the determination between your own healthy body tissue cells and those that are of foreign invaders, like viruses or bacteria. And because that happens, the immune system goes into an attack mode. And it does so repeatedly, or remains in attack mode without ceasing, to the point where it even attacks your own body. That's an autoimmune type of a disease. And this is the danger in these things. These attacks can go unnoticed for years. For years. They can be beneath the surface, if you will, because the person doesn't have any profound symptoms, I mean, that are debilitating or that are really, you know, unceasing and catching their attention. Many times, these symptoms that these people have are symptoms that they just get used to, that they adapt to, or, you know, they think it's normal for them to feel this way, until that feeling just increasing to the point where, you know, they finally break down and go to see what's going on here. But that's what happens. These autoimmune diseases, they just remain under the surface for years until there's an identifiable autoimmune disease that develops or erupts, you know. And right now there's over 80 different known varieties of these types of diseases that are going on. And there's more that are being added to the list each and every day. So what would be the best in combating this? Well, you guessed it. It's to reduce the inflammation. That's what you've got to do. And that's where the autoimmune protocol, or the autoimmune paleo diet, as I like to call it, comes in. It makes these changes to help the individual heal the immune system, and it restores the communication between the brain and the rest of the body, and the gut flora in particular, that's essential to regulate the immune system. Because right now we've realized for many years that 70 to 80% of the immune system lies in the gut. and it's based upon healthy gut flora. So it's really, really important. Now, this may not have been relevant to you, but the fact that the autoimmune diseases are on the rise, I think this is a really important point to make, and it's a very important benefit that you can get from choosing foods that are from the paleo menu. So I just wanted to make mention of that. And now, as I go on, what I want to do is talk about the myths, because there's always myths that are surrounded with anything. Whenever you're trying to make a change in your lifestyle, an improvement in any way, there's always the naysayers that may be there. And those people that tell you that, oh, hey, I know somebody that went on the paleo diet, like in this example. They went on the paleo diet and their hair started to fall out and their nails broke, and then they got these big sores that broke out on their skin, or their muscles just shriveled up, whatever. I mean, there's always people out there like that. And I again want to point to the internet, because you can Google it and you can find all these horrific stories and these so-called experts that are poo-pooing this, but underneath the surface, what they're doing is they're lambasting one thing only to sell their product to you now, as a result of the fear that they've generated in your thinking, and stopping you from going any further. You've got to find out, if there are hidden agendas and who's been funding that research that you're reading about, regarding a particular subject, whatever it might be. But in this instance, we're talking about the paleo diet. So let's go ahead and debunk some of these myths. Okay, number one. Well, I shouldn't say number one, because these are just things that I've thought of. But calling the paleo diet a fad, it's quite confusing, because as I mentioned at the beginning here, it's really a lifestyle. It's been going on for many, many generations. And it's actually a lifestyle that's designed to feed your body with the food that we were supposed to eat from the beginning, and how it was supposed to be done all along for a very, very long time before you and I were even on the earth. But because of marketing and chemistry and so-called advancements and internet and all kinds of things, a lot of people now are ingesting things that are what I call frankenfoods, because they're not foods at all. They're just chemical concoctions. And if you have a doubt in that, the next time you go to the grocery store, pick up one of your favorite items that you consume on a regular basis and look on the back and see the list of ingredients. And I mean, down at the bottom there. And you're going to see words that it's going to take a PhD to pronounce, and a double PhD to understand what it is. Okay? So it's getting back to the natural state, to eating the foods the way the good Lord created them for our bodies. And also, some people think it's an unbalanced meat-only diet. Well, it's not a meat-only diet. The meat or the protein only equates to less than 50% in a paleo diet. When you really study it and look at it, I mean, they want you to have healthy vegetables, healthy fruits with a lot of fiber in there, and a lot of healthy fats as well. But the protein is important, okay? And they also might, continuing with this mythology, there are some that will tell you that the portions of protein that you're allowed if you get into a paleo diet are too small. Well, again, we're not counting calories, or you wouldn't be counting calories on this. Instead, what you're doing is eating calorically dense food. So the healthier the food is, the more calorically dense it would be. And caloric here translates into nutrition. So it's nutritionally dense. Therefore, food may seem to be less in volume, but it doesn't put you in any risk of not eating enough. You're going to get everything that you need. And realistically, the standard American diet, it actually sets you up for overeating. That's why the people have these cravings. And that's why they're cheating, and that's why they're eating a lot of sugars and this and that, just to satisfy, because they're getting so little nutritional value from that particular way of eating, that the body is it's starving nutritionally, so it's got to get more and more and more and more from any and every source that's available. Okay. Also, some people have said, well, this diet, when you're talking about that kind of food, it becomes very expensive. Well, that's really not true. It's like anything else. You've got to plan ahead, and you've got to be a wise consumer to make sure that you're getting the biggest bang, if you will, for your buck. The most expensive food, or the most expensive supplement for that matter, is the one that you buy that doesn't work. Think about that for a moment. So there's a lot of people out there on the internet buying all kinds of supplements off of these websites, and they're inert, they're empty, and they've spent all this money for absolutely nothing in return. And the same is true for the foods that many people are purchasing. They're devoid of nutrients, but they're heavy on chemicals and stabilizers and colorings and emulsifiers and preservatives, but very, very minuscule on any nutritional value. So you tell me what's expensive, see? So when you're buying real food, you're paying for real food, you're getting the nutrients and the nutrition that you're after. You're making an investment in your health, not only in today, but all of the quality of all of the tomorrows that you're going to be living as long as you stay on the face of this earth. Okay, so that's one thing I definitely wanted to talk about there. But also, now let me get back to reading the labels, because I mentioned that a moment ago. Because food companies here in the United States, they're experts in the art of deception, I guess is a polite way of putting it. And as consumers now, inconsistent labeling really makes making informed choices very, very difficult when it comes to purchasing foods here. Now, and I want to tell you up front that there are paleo branded foods, and I want to tell you that they're no exception either. See, because anytime something becomes popular and more marketable, then the more products we have out there, the more money we can make. And the cheaper the product that we can market with a higher price on it, the more money we can make as well. See, I hope I've explained that clearly, because as I mentioned before, many people object to purchasing whole foods because they are more expensive. Well, if I can market something that looks like a whole food, sounds like a whole food, and kind of resembles a whole food, but it's not a whole food, then my profit's going to be marked up. So what you want to do is, this is what's happened too with the paleo branded foods. So they can engineer, food companies can engineer any food to follow any set of rules. And they basically, that means that junk food can be considered paleo within certain guidelines. So you've got to educate yourself, because your health is your responsibility. So, well, you might ask, well, how can you ensure that you don't fall into that trap of assuming that all paleo approved? Because that's typically the label that you see on some of these foods. They have a little sticker on the meat or on the veggies or whatever it might be, and it says it's paleo approved. But how can you prevent yourself from falling into that trap? Well, what you've got to do, again, you've got to read the label. You've got to read the ingredients. You got to know what is and what isn't paleo friendly. Now, look at the ingredients and search for things like trans fats, homogenated, sweeteners, additives, preservatives, emulsifiers, colors, all of those things. Remember, pay attention to that, because, and this might be simplistic, but it really is, the shorter the label, the truer the food. Okay? I mean, if you pick up a food item and it's got this huge lengthy label on it, you've got to understand that the length of that label is going to be attributed to all of the chemicals, the emulsifiers, and all of these additives. See? So if you're buying something that truly is, it's going to be beef. That's it. 100% beef. That's it. Nothing else. Fish, whatever. But see, what you want to do, remember, that which is natural is on the paleo menu. That which the good Lord created in the way he created it is what is on the paleo label. When man gets involved and starts to inject this chemical, that additive, this coloring, or whatever it might be, this stabilizer, this preservative, it then becomes that which was natural now becomes unnatural because it's not the way nature presented it. Okay? All right. And then also, you want to compare prices because you may be paying for a label more than you are the product. And sometimes it makes sense, to purchase a non-paleo branded version of the product that would fit into your diet rather than getting the so-called labeled paleo. You can get a paleo labeled piece of fish and it's been farm grown, right? From a fish farm. That's not natural. But that piece of fish, we'll just say as an example, it's 6 ounces worth of this particular fish. It's got the paleo label, and it's going to cost you, and I'll just throw it out, we'll say $6 for 6 ounces of fish. And right next to it, there is another fish that's, ocean caught, the same fish, the same amount, and you can get it for $3.50. So don't be fooled into thinking because one has the label, the other one doesn't, that the one that doesn't is inferior. Don't go that way. See, you really got to read the labels. You've really got to educate yourself, okay? So in that instance, if you purchase that $6 piece of fish, you would be buying the label rather than the quality of the food, okay? So that's what you've got to do. I want to help you out on that. But again, you want to read the labels. And also what you want to do, you want to change it up and you want to be creative if you're going to make this your lifestyle, Although there are more guidelines in a paleo diet than, say, versus the standard American diet, because, you're eating the same stuff over and over and over again, you got to make sure that you're not limiting yourself from the foods that you love. Okay, so because very often there are quick changes to a recipe to make it paleo friendly, and you can do that. And you just, again, you can use Google and do a little digging, to find your favorite food and to see what paleo recipes are out there that have to do with that food. And look, as I've said, this is nothing new. It's been around for many, many years, if not years, generations. And there are a lot of great books out there, paleo menu recipe books that you can go ahead and get. So that's what I might suggest you doing. Again, it's part and parcel of being, the educated consumer. That's what you want to do. Okay. Some of the cookbooks that you can get out there, I know that, oh gee whiz, one is called the Paleo Slow Cooker, and it has to do with gluten as well. You can check that out. Everyday Paleo Around the World, and if I remember correctly, that's basically Italian cuisine, if you like Italian, and who doesn't? I don't know who doesn't like Italian cuisine, but I mean that's something. And if you wanting one like that focuses maybe just on lunches and breakfasts, they it's called, what I remember, it's Paleo Lunches and Breakfasts on the Go. You can get that one too. I mean, there's a lot of good books out there, okay, that you can get into and you can research and you can find out more about. But it says there's nothing new about this particular diet, okay? So there's a lot of information already out there that would be available to you. And look, if you need some additional help in this area, as I said earlier, don't hesitate to contact our office because you're going to love those recipes. They are delicious. They are just succulent. They are mouth-watering, and you're not going to be giving up taste in order, because like I said, diet, that's that 4-letter word, and many people, join it to paleo or whatever it might be, and you're thinking, tasteless, going to be like styrofoam, it's going to be yucky and all, but this is truly very, very flavorful. Okay, all right. So remember, information is power, and I've given you a ton of information here. See, but also understand this, that information not acted upon is useless. It's worthless. There's no benefit to it. To the possessor of one, to the one who possesses information who does not act upon it, it's worthless. It's no benefit to you. So what you've got to do is to act upon this. I know I've given you a lot of information here, and you might even be feeling overwhelmed right now, and I don't know what your emotion is that's coming up. You may feel overwhelmed, or you may be excited to get into this now that you've realized, hey, this is not that bad. I can do this stuff. It's not that restricting. Or there might even be some confusion because, you've been on the internet and you've read from the gurus and the pseudo experts out there that have told you this and told you that. Now here I am telling you something totally different in this presentation. So look, all of these emotions are absolutely great. Your excitement, I believe it's going to drive you and to learning more. The sense of being overwhelmed is going to force you to take maybe this process a little more seriously than you may than you may have before you listen to this presentation, and also the confusion, because that's going to drive you to become more learned, more educated, more knowledgeable. Remember now that healthy eating really is a staple. It's a staple. It's a lifestyle of a high quality one in nature. And it's something to put time and effort and energy into, because the side effects, the benefits that you're going to get out of doing this are going to include more energy, improved self-esteem. You're going to be amped up to enjoy the vigors of life. You're going to have a better quality sleep. You're going to have less doctor bills as a result of being healthier. And look, you're going to enjoy the best performance of your life, right? And that's what it's all about. But remember this, if you do feel like you need any support, and I know I've said this before, but if you feel that you need any support or you have any questions, remember that I am certainly here to help you. You just contact us and let us know. I'd be more than happy to help you out. Remember, I want to thank you for your time, because paleo really does rock out there in the choices that you have before you regarding diets or lifestyles. This is a really good one, and I really did love and thank you for allowing me to share this topic with you. And always remember this: you've got to remain proactive in order to enjoy the best performance of your life. Got it? So once again, thanks so much. Take care and enjoy, hopefully, the best performance of your life now.